The sun hung low over Solara 9, casting long shadows across the barren mining platform. Dust swirled in the faint breeze as a crowd of humans knelt, forced into silence by the imposing figures of Zargathi guards. The metallic clink of alien armor punctuated the stillness as Overlord Krithos Velar strode forward, his every movement exuding cold authority. At the center of the platform, an elderly woman stood, her back straight despite the weight of her years. Her face, though lined with age, bore a calm defiance that only decades of endurance could forge. Around her, the crowd's expressions wavered between helpless fear and the faint flicker of hope. "You stand accused of inciting rebellion," Velar's voice rang out, amplified by his translator. His words were clipped, each syllable sharp enough to cut. "Your kind continues to defy the natural order. This will end today." The woman met his gaze without flinching. "Oppression breeds resistance," she said, her voice steady. "You've underestimated humanity before. It will be your undoing." Velar's mandibles twitched, an alien gesture of irritation. He raised his hand, signaling the executioner. Thousands of light-years away, aboard the rebel battleship Iron Will, the scene unfolded in horrifying clarity on a flickering holographic display. The bridge was silent except for the faint hum of the ship's engines and the labored breathing of its crew. General Marcus Hale stood motionless at the center of the room, his jaw clenched. His mother's face filled the screen, her words echoing in his mind. "Cut the feed," Ria Torres, his second-in-command, whispered, her voice thick with concern. "No," Marcus said, his voice low but firm. He didn't turn to face her, his eyes locked on the screen. "I need to see this." The crew exchanged uneasy glances but obeyed. On the display, the executioner stepped forward, raising a gleaming energy blade. The crowd cried out as the blade descended. The woman crumpled to the ground, her lifeless form collapsing in a heap. The feed went dark. For a moment, no one spoke. Marcus remained still, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Then he turned sharply, his movements precise and controlled. "War room." "Now," he said, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. The war room was a stark, utilitarian space lit by the cool glow of holographic displays. Marcus entered, his officers already assembled around the central table. A map of the Zargathi Empire's territories floated above the surface, marked with human colonies, rebel strongholds, and enemy outposts. Marcus didn't wait for formalities. "You all saw what happened on Solara 9, he began, his tone sharp. "The Empire executed my mother to send a message. It's time we sent one of our own." Commander Elias Vance adjusted his glasses, his discomfort evident. "General, we're all deeply sorry for your loss." Marcus raised a hand to silence him. "This isn't about me. It's about every human colony under their heel. My mother's death was meant to break us. Instead, it will unite us." Ria leaned forward, her arms crossed. "What's the plan?" Marcus tapped the holographic map, zooming in on Solara 9. The mining outpost and its defenses appeared in vivid detail. "We strike here," he said. "Velar's outpost is their key operation on Solara 9. It's heavily fortified, but if we can disable their tech, we can take it out and hit them where it hurts." Vance frowned. "Their defenses include an energy shield powered by a fusion core. Without disabling that, we won't get close." "That's where your EMP comes in," Marcus said, meeting Vance's gaze. "Will it work?" Vance hesitated, then nodded. "In theory, yes. The EMP should short-circuit their systems within a 5-kilometer radius. But it's untested. If it fails, it won't," Marcus said firmly. "We don't have another option. Ria, assemble a strike team. We leave in 6 hours. "Understood," Ria said, her expression unreadable. The room fell silent. Marcus turned to leave but paused at the doorway. His voice softened, just enough to carry the weight of his conviction. "We can't bring her back," he said. "But we can make sure her death means something." 6 hours later, the Iron Will hovered silently at the edge of a dense nebula, its sleek hull blending seamlessly with the surrounding void. In the drop bay, Marcus inspected his armor, each piece gleaming with precision. Around him, the strike team prepared in tense silence. Rhea approached, her helmet tucked under one arm. "You don't have to go down there yourself," she said quietly. Marcus didn't look up. "I do." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We'll make it count." The transport shuttle launched, its engines muted to avoid detection. The surface of Solara 9 loomed below, a patchwork of desolate terrain and industrial sprawl. "Touchdown in 3 minutes," the pilot announced. Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle. "Stay sharp. In and out. No unnecessary risks." The shuttle landed in a remote canyon, shielded from enemy sensors. Marcus led the team on foot, their movements silent and precise. The outpost loomed ahead, its perimeter guarded by towering Zargathi sentinels. "Vance, status on the EMP?" Marcus asked into his calm. "Deployed and ready," Vance replied. "Awaiting your signal." Marcus signaled for the team to advance. The first obstacle was a patrol of Zargathi soldiers. Marcus motioned for the team to split, flanking the patrol on both sides. The guards didn't have time to react. Marcus moved with ruthless efficiency, his blade finding its mark. The team neutralized the rest without a sound. "Clear," Rhea said, her voice barely above a whisper. They pressed forward, planting explosives on key infrastructure points. The tension was palpable, every shadow a potential threat. "Enemy patrol, 10 meters," one of the soldiers murmured. Marcus raised a fist, signaling the team to halt. The patrol passed, oblivious to their presence. "Vance," Marcus said, his voice steady. "Activate the EMP." Miles away, Vance triggered the device. A pulse of energy rippled outward, silencing the hum of Zargathi machinery. Lights flickered and died, leaving the outpost in eerie silence. "Move!" Marcus ordered. The team struck with precision, exploiting the chaos. Explosions erupted in their wake as the outpost's infrastructure crumbled. As they retreated to the shuttle, Marcus glanced back. The outpost was engulfed in flames, its defenses shattered. Rhea's voice broke the silence. "We made a statement today." Marcus's expression was grim. "And it's only the beginning." The wreckage of Solara IX's outpost still smoldered in the distance, but there was no time to celebrate. The iron wool had returned to its hidden dock within a dense nebula, the crew moving with urgency to prepare for what came next. Marcus Hale stood in the tactical room, leaning over the holographic table, his mind racing through possible countermeasures. "This isn't just a victory," he said, his tone measured but intense. "It's an escalation. Wheeler won't let this stand." Rhea Torres, standing across from him, tapped a point on the hologram, a Zargathi refueling station orbiting a nearby planet. "We need to hit them again before they regroup. Something quick to disrupt their supply lines." Elias Vance stepped into the room, his face pale but determined. "General, the EMP worked better than expected, but there's a problem. We used almost all of the ionized cores in the first strike. Without more, we can't deploy another pulse." "How long to produce more?" Marcus asked. "Days, maybe weeks. And we'd need resources we don't have." Marcus straightened, his jaw tightening. "Then we'll have to adapt. No EMP this time. We'll rely on stealth and precision." Rhea raised an eyebrow. "You're planning another assault this soon?" "The crew's exhausted. They need time to regroup." Marcus met her gaze, his eyes sharp. "Wheeler isn't going to wait. He'll retaliate the moment he regains control. We can't afford to give him that chance." The iron will slipped into position near the Zargathi refueling station, its blackened hull blending into the void. Marcus and his strike team prepared in the shuttle bay, suiting up for what was becoming an all-too-familiar routine. "This isn't like Solara 9, Marcus said, addressing his team. "We don't have the advantage of an EMP this time. We'll have to rely on speed and precision. Our goal is to disable their fuel supplies and force their fleet into disarray." Rhea glanced at him. "And if Wheeler's forces show up while we're down there?" Marcus smirked faintly. Then we make it a fight they'll regret. The shuttle launched, its engines running cold to avoid detection. As it descended toward the refueling station, Marcus studied the structure through the viewport. It was massive, a sprawling network of tanks, pipelines, and docking bays illuminated by the pale light of the planet below. This place is crawling with Zargathi, Rhea observed. How are we going to get close without them noticing? By being ghosts, Marcus replied. The shuttle docked in a shadowed alcove, concealed by the station's massive support beams. The team disembarked, their boots making barely a sound against the metal flooring. Vance status? Marcus asked through his calm. Station's defenses are standard, Vance replied from the iron will. Automated turrets and patrols every 10 minutes. You've got a narrow window to move. Marcus motioned for his team to follow. They advanced silently, weaving between cover as they made their way toward the main fuel depot. The smell of coolant and burning plasma filled the air, a constant reminder of the volatile environment. Eyes up, Marcus whispered as they approached a group of Zargathi technicians. The aliens were busy calibrating a fuel line, their attention elsewhere. Marcus gestured to Rhea, and the two moved in sync, taking the technicians down with swift, silent efficiency. We're clear, Rhea said, wiping her blade on a rag. Not for long, Marcus replied. Vance, we're planting charges on the primary tanks. Estimate on enemy reinforcements. 10 minutes, maybe less, Vance answered. They've already flagged an unauthorized dock. Marcus frowned. Then we move faster. Team, plant the explosives and regroup at the extraction point. Rhea, you're with me. Marcus and Rhea moved deeper into the station, navigating a labyrinth of pipes and machinery. The tension was palpable, each corner a potential ambush. Tell me something, Rhea said quietly as they moved. What? Do you ever sleep? Marcus glanced at her, his expression hard to read. Not when there's work to be done. She smirked faintly. You'll burn out eventually. Not before they do. Their exchange was cut short by the sound of heavy footsteps. A patrol of Zargathi soldiers rounded the corner, their glowing weapons raised. Contact, Rhea hissed. Marcus dove for cover, firing a burst from his plasma rifle. The first soldier went down, but the others returned fire, energy bolts scorching the walls. We're outnumbered, Rhea said, taking a shot that hit its mark. Fall back, Marcus ordered, covering her as they retreated. The soldiers advanced relentlessly, their alien voices barking commands. Marcus gritted his teeth, pulling a grenade from his belt. Keep moving, he said, tossing the grenade into the corridor. The explosion shook the station, sending debris and smoke billowing outward. That'll buy us a few seconds, Rhea said as they sprinted toward the depot. They regrouped with the rest of the team at the extraction point, the sound of distant alarms growing louder. Charges are set, one of the soldiers reported. Good, Marcus said, his voice firm. Detonate on my mark. The team boarded the shuttle as the Zargathi reinforcements arrived, their weapons firing wildly. Marcus gave the signal, and the explosives erupted in a chain reaction. The station's fuel tanks ignited, sending massive fireballs into the sky. The shuttle's engines roared to life, propelling them away from the inferno. Marcus watched the destruction through the viewport, his expression unreadable. That's 2 victories in a row, Rhea said, sitting beside him. You're going to make Wheeler desperate. Desperate enemies make mistakes, Marcus replied. And we'll be ready when he does. Back on the Iron Will, the crew worked tirelessly to analyze the aftermath of the strike. Marcus stood in the war room, studying the map of Zargathi-controlled territories. Wheeler's fleet is regrouping, Vance reported. But they'll be slowed without fuel. That gives us time, Marcus said, though his voice lacked relief. Time for what? Rhea asked. Marcus turned to face her. For them to come to us. They'll come, and when they do, we'll end this. The room fell silent as his words hung in the air. For the first time, the crew felt the weight of what was to come. The void of space was deceptively calm as the Iron Will drifted within the nebulous shrouding embrace. The crew moved with a practiced urgency, knowing that every second counted. They had disrupted the Zargathi Empire twice in quick succession, but General Marcus Hale knew the retaliation would come soon and decisively. In the war room, Marcus stood with Rhea Torres and Elias Vance, reviewing intelligence reports. A map of the surrounding sectors hovered in the air, pulsing with bright markers representing known Zargathi fleets. "They've consolidated their forces," Vance said, gesturing to a dense cluster of red markers. "Wheeler's flagship is at the center. He's rallying everything he's got for a counterattack." Rhea leaned against the table, her brow furrowed. "He's not just regrouping. He's hunting us." Marcus nodded, his expression grim. "He won't stop until we're dead. But we won't make it easy for him." "How long until they reach our position?" 3 hours, maybe less," Vance replied. "They're moving fast, and their tracking algorithms are closing in." Marcus straightened, his presence commanding. "Then we prepare for the fight of our lives." Rhea deployed defensive measures. "Vance, I want every weapon on this ship fully operational. Evacuate non-essential personnel to the escape pods, just in case." "What about you?" Rhea asked, her tone carrying an edge of concern. Marcus met her gaze. "I'll be right here, leading the charge." The tension on the iron wool was palpable as the crew readied themselves. Engineers worked tirelessly in the engine room, fine-tuning the ship's propulsion systems and rerouting power to shields and weapons. Soldiers checked and rechecked their gear, their faces set with determination. Rhea found Marcus in the command center, staring at a live feed of the approaching fleet. "They outnumber us 10-1, she said, folding her arms. Marcus smirked faintly. "So, we'll make every shot count." Rhea hesitated, then stepped closer. "This isn't just about revenge, is it?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but resolute. "It's about survival. For every colony they've crushed, every life they've taken. If we don't fight back, they'll destroy everything. Then let's make sure they regret coming here," Rhea said, placing a hand on his shoulder. The Zargathi fleet emerged from hyperspace in a blaze of light, their ships forming an overwhelming wall of firepower. Wheeler's flagship, a massive, angular behemoth, led the charge. Its silhouette dwarfed the other ships, bristling with weapons. "Enemy fleet detected," the tactical officer reported. "We're being hailed." Marcus nodded. "Put it through." Wheeler's face appeared on the main screen, his alien features twisted with disdain. "Marcus Hale," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "You've been a thorn in my side for far too long. Today that ends." Marcus folded his arms, his expression unyielding. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing." Wheeler's mandibles flared in irritation. "Your defiance is meaningless. You've endangered your people for nothing. I will erase you and your rebellion from existence." "Good luck," Marcus said coldly. "You'll need it." Wheeler snarled, and the transmission cut off. "Brace for impact," Marcus ordered. "Rhea, take the helm. Vance, focus fire on their smaller ships. We'll need to thin their numbers before taking on Wheeler's flagship." The battle erupted in a maelstrom of light and sound. The iron will weave through the chaos, its cannons unleashing devastating salvos that tore through the Zargathi fleet. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Empire's ships struggled to match the precision and adaptability of the rebel crew. "Enemy frigate destroyed," Vance reported, his fingers flying across the console. "But their main forces are closing in fast." "Keep moving," Marcus commanded. "Don't let them box us in." Rhea gripped the helm, her focus razor-sharp. The iron will spun and darted through enemy fire, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma torpedoes. "They're trying to corral us toward Wheeler's flagship," she said. "Then let's turn the tables," Marcus replied. "Rhea, plot a course to their flank. We'll hit them where they least expect it." The ship veered sharply, cutting through the enemy formation. As they reached the edge of the fleet, the iron will unleashed a barrage of missiles, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. "Direct hits on 3 cruisers," Vance reported. "Good," Marcus said. Now bring us around. We're taking the fight to Velar. Velar watched the battle unfold from the bridge of his flagship, his fury mounting. Fools, he growled. They think they can win through desperation. Sir, the Iron Will is heading directly for us, one of his officers reported. Velar's mandibles clicked in amusement. Let them come. Prepare all weapons. They've sealed their fate. As the Iron Will closed in on the flagship, the scale of their task became clear. The ship's shield shimmered with impenetrable energy, its weapons blazing with deadly precision. Shields are holding, but not for long, Vance warned. Then we make this count, Marcus said. Rhea, bring us in close. Vance, overload the main cannon. I want a shot that'll punch through their shields. The Iron Will dove toward the flagship, its engines roaring at full throttle. Enemy fire raked across its hull, but the crew held their ground. Cannon charged and ready, Vance said. Fire, Marcus ordered. The main cannon unleashed a blinding beam of energy, slamming into the flagship's shields. The barrier flickered and then shattered under the assault. Shields are down, Vance exclaimed. Target their engines, Marcus said. We're not letting them escape. The Iron Will unleashed another barrage, this time striking the flagship's engines. Explosions rippled across its hull, sending debris spiraling into space. Velar's ship is disabled, Rhea reported, her voice tinged with relief. Good, Marcus said. Now let's finish this. On the bridge of the flagship, Velar struggled to maintain control. Fires raged around him, and his officers shouted in panic. This isn't over, he snarled. Prepare for self-destruct. If I die, I'll take them with me. But before he could act, a surge of energy rippled through the ship. The Iron Will had targeted the core, triggering a catastrophic chain reaction. As the flagship erupted in a massive fireball, the remaining Zargathi ships scattered, their morale shattered. The Iron Will emerged from the inferno, battered but victorious. Enemy forces are retreating, Vance reported, his voice filled with awe. Marcus allowed himself a small, weary smile. Then we've won. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Marcus's expression remained somber. He knew this was only the beginning. The war was far from over, but for now, humanity had struck a blow that the Zargathi Empire wouldn't forget.